call this meeting to order. The time is 5:32 p.m. Roll call, Mr. Bailey. Mrs. Dean.
Here.
Mrs. Johnson is absent. Mrs. Martin, I'm sure, is on her way. Ms. Miller.
Here.
Mr. Osowski. Chair is here. Mr. Barajas. Did I say it right? Yes. I'm determined to have it by the end of the school year. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Sorry about that. All right, as per usual, please place all cell phones on silent. I always check mine because that would be really embarrassing. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda of the November 3rd, 2025 regular meeting as presented? So moved by Mr. Osowski. Is there a second? Seconded by Ms. Miller. Is there any discussion? I do have the recorder on, yes. Thank you for reminding me. Hearing none, all in favor say yes. Yes. Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Call to the audience, public participation regarding agenda items. I see some blue sheets out there. Is it regarding an agenda or, oh, Kim's gonna go look for me. It's like, man, what do we do without Jackie? Okay, thank you. All right, presentations. Our presenters are here, yeah, I'm assuming.
I'm doing the presentations.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I'm not doing presentations so much as just, we have two different presentations that the board's, or two different proposals that the board's been provided for strategic planning. And we touched on this topic at the most recent workshop, but at that point, we only had the MASB proposal. So now we have the two different proposals, the one for Michigan Association of School Boards, and you have that summary of that proposal, and then now we were able to secure a second proposal from Michigan Virtual, who was the same group, and this would be the same consultants, I've confirmed that worked with us on our Portrait of a Graduate process. So I didn't really want to, I did provide this, obviously this information was provided to the board in advance, but I know we have some board members that aren't here tonight. I don't know if any board members have initial questions on this, or seeing that I'm not planning to make any kind of recommendation on this item tonight, we can also include this on the November board workshop as a topic to have further discussion. But one question that I know was asked is whether there's money in the budget for the strategic planning process, and I did talk with Dr. Gissinger, and she assured me that if we go with either of these proposals, that there are funds within the budget to support the process.
Okay, so I was looking at this, I do have two questions. One, how...
And if you have any questions that I can't answer, I will get the answers to those questions and get them back to you.
Okay. How long is this pricing good for? Like,
as I understand it, the pricing is good. We plan to make a decision hopefully in December.
right.
And so the pricing will definitely hold through the end of the year, if not into January. I'm sure that it will continue on into January as well.
And I don't even know how to say this without just... Has Michigan Virtual bumped their head? Twice like $20,000 versus 10?
Yeah, and I understand that on the surface.
Sorry.
On the surface, it's double the other proposal, but I would say, I would encourage you to look deeper into the two proposals.
Okay.
And
'Cause I was like,
I would also say that as I was going through this process, I did talk with some other districts. There's been districts that have paid as much as $50,000 to do a strategic planning process. So the process is what you make it. There are other providers out there that would do it, that would give us proposals that are much higher than these numbers that you're looking at right now. And I will just say this, I will be interested to have this discussion at the next workshop
Okay.
as you have a chance to dig into it more, but I would say that the process, I was pleased overall with the development of the portrait of a graduate with the assistance of Michigan Virtual. And I would say this, there are two different approaches here. And I would say, just at a glance, and I'm not saying this is my recommendation either way at this point, but I would say that the strategic planning process is really and ideally should be broader than just about, I guess, from my perspective, the Board of Education and their role. And I will just say, I'm not saying that the MASB process doesn't map this out, but I would say that the Michigan virtual process, as I've looked at it initially, dives deeper into, like, beyond just the governance and those type things, and the role of the board within what we do. But I do believe that Michigan Virtual's process, not to say that the MASB process couldn't somehow accomplish this, but the Michigan Virtual process, one benefit there is it would be more closely aligned with our portrait of a graduate that was developed and how we're trying to put that portrait of graduate into action. So those are just some things, again, off the top of my head as I've looked at the two proposals initially, but we can definitely explore this more and deeper at the board workshop with the goal of ideally bringing a recommendation forward at the December board meeting.
All right, thank you. Are there any initial questions regarding these proposals, if you've had a chance, other than what I've raised? Okay, so I'll encourage you then to dig into them between now and the workshop and come prepared to ask questions at our board workshop. Okay. Next, per pupil mental health and school safety, section 31AA grant.
So this is also me as far as a quote-unquote presentation goes. This is an item that we've kind of been pressured into, and I don't know if people have gotten a chance to digest the materials that were sent out relative to this. But this topic here comes to us as a result of the recent budget that was enacted 3 months late by the state of Michigan. And essentially, here's the catch. I'll try to sum it up. So, this budget provides a portion of funding under section 31AA, which has been a categorical funding that we've received for the last few years. And that funding is targeted to be for school safety and security and mental health expenses. So we've been able to take advantage of this funding in a variety of ways, and it hasn't come anywhere close to covering our costs in those areas, but it's helped us out. Well, this year, the state decided, and this is, I guess, I can't help but add my own editorial statements here. The state decided that they were willing to continue to give us money for school safety and mental health, but they tied a specific condition to it. And the specific condition that they are asking anyone who receives these funds is that, and everybody knows my ties to the Oxford schools situation, but if you remember in that situation, the state attorney general multiple times offered to come in and do an investigation of what transpired there. And the Oxford schools repeatedly declined that opportunity. And there were some people within the state legislature and the governor's office and the attorney general herself who weren't pleased by the fact that the Oxford schools declined that. And so now they came up with a way to basically force districts potentially. And that's by, if we take this money that's being offered this year, any district that takes this money does so with the understanding that they're waiving privilege if there should be a mass casualty event at your school, and you're basically agreeing to allow the state to appoint a group to come in and do an investigation of what transpired. So, and it gets messier because of how they went about this, because they also define mass casualty very loosely. So I'll give you an example. While it might make sense in terms of what happened in Oxford for an investigation to have been done at the state level, and I'll leave you all to determine that for yourselves, they've left it open, the definition of mass casualty, if we had a bus accident and there were a couple students, God forbid, who were injured on the bus accident, that would most likely fit the definition of a mass casualty event because of how loosely they define the terms mass casualty. We met with one of the attorneys as Wayne County superintendents just maybe 2 weeks ago now. And one of the things that the language is so loose, they suggested that if you have and they pointed out to a district that's had this, I know we're doing a lot of work in this area of mental health and trying to support our students, but there's a case to be made that if you have like multiple suicide incidents involving students, and if those events were unfortunately close enough in time, that somebody might make the case that you've now had multiple incidents of a mass casualty, and now you've agreed to waive all your privilege that you might have as a district and agree to allow the state to come in and do an investigation. There's questions about how much, exactly what type of privilege is being waived. One interpretation is that what they're asking you to waive would be the district's privilege. So essentially, the entity's privilege is what's being waived. But it's really another gray area, whether it would be individuals' privileges who are being waived, including not only administrators, but potentially other employees. And so there becomes a question about how can we as a district even waive somebody else's privilege? But of course, the legislature didn't think of all these things. Somebody just was really adamant that they want a right to come in, and they said if we tie money to it and funding to it, the districts are going to have no choice but to agree. I will say this. There are multiple superintendents that I've spoken with, and I don't have pure numbers, but there are multiple superintendents who say in no way, shape, or form are they going to recommend taking these funds. Because they can't, they believe that strongly about not waiving the privilege. And then here's the kicker. We've been advised by Miller Johnson, and I think most of the other firms are recommending the same, and this was in one of the summaries that was provided. If we choose to take this funding, which we've now been told we have until November 30th to make a determination about whether we're going to take this funding or not under these conditions, and if we do, the recommendation is that the board would take action on it and that it be a board item for consideration. So there's a chance that at the next workshop, we might have to call a special meeting, or potentially, depending on the fact that we might not still have all the information, because there are some different pressure points on this still in motion, including, I was told earlier today, one ISD that's potentially considering filing something for injunctive relief relative to this request. But I wanted to introduce it to you tonight and provide you with these legal opinions. I'm happy to field any initial questions that you have and answer those to the best of my ability. I want to say roughly, for us to put it into perspective, and every dollar clearly matters, but there are districts that are being asked to weigh this decision, that this is millions of dollars. We're in the neighborhood, I believe, and I will confirm this number and send it out to the board, but I want to say we're much closer to $100,000 for us as a district that we would receive in 31AA funding if we were to agree to these conditions. But I can't say with certainty, though, that the number I send you initially will be what we could potentially be waiving, because I did ask our lobbyists this. So, Mike Latfish from Wayne Risa, and his interpretation and belief is there was a certain dollar amount that was set aside in the state budget that has these conditions on it. And what that means is our allotment currently assumes every district is going to take their allotment. But if you have like even 30% of the districts in the state that choose not to take the funding because of these conditions, then that means that our allotment would actually, there'd be more to distribute from that fund, and we arguably would get more than the initial number that I can share with you. And again, I think it's roughly $100,000 for us. But this is a nuance. This has a lot of tentacles to it. The opinion letter from Collins Blaha, who we received their information as well, while we do work on matters like this and policy-related matters more so with Miller Johnson, because we do utilize Collins Blaha as bond counsel. They also send us from time to time opinion letters that relate to legal matters such as this that impact all districts. So that's why I shared all that information to the board, and that's why this item was included on the agenda tonight, because there's a chance that while I don't have all the answers now, there's a chance that we are going to have to ask the board to potentially convene a special meeting before November 30th to consider whether we should accept these funds as a school district. And I'll stop now.
Don't you just love Lansing?
And I'm told, to be fair, that this, for whatever it's worth, I'm told that this is coming, while everybody's pointing fingers because they know people aren't happy, I've been given information that suggests the person who is most pushing this is our governor.
Chair,
Mr. Bailey?
when you say give up privilege, what do you mean?
What do I mean? I mean, when it comes to, so in the Oxford incident, as you might imagine, the moment the Oxford incident happened, they started talking with attorneys. Now, was that like the first thing they did? No, but I guarantee you within 24 hours, somebody on the team in Oxford was having conversations with attorneys. Whether that was through their liability carrier or whoever else, they were talking with attorneys. And as you're aware, there's attorney-client privilege to those conversations. Whether those were email communications or in person and minutes were taken and different things like that. So what do I mean? I mean that one of the things that you would be waiving is the right to claim attorney-client privilege to those communications. Because essentially what this provision is trying to do is allow them to dig as deep as possible into an incident and ultimately, to be honest with you, end up being able to point fingers at somebody for what went wrong.
Do I forfeit my Fifth Amendment?
I would say yes, I would say that that's another privilege that you would be waiving. Now, does that mean they're going to compel you to testify because we took these funds? I mean, that remains to be seen, and I can tell you this, as a result of this, our lobbyists at the state level and everybody else have been starting to dig into this question. There's no other state in these United States of America
Oh, I guess,
that has put a provision like this in. So that's why this is a big deal.
So at this point in time, it's rather nebulous.
It's very nebulous. There's no case law on point because nobody's tried to put something like this into effect. And again, how deep that waiver of privilege runs is probably at some point going to be a matter of litigation.
So this is something that needs to be hammered out more before a decision is made on it.
Yeah, the problem is the state's given us all of the rest of November to do that, Mr. Bailey.
Actually, our option is to refuse it, right?
We have an option to refuse it, yes.
Go back and hammer it out.
Well, just to let you know,
can't go back.
the only action that Miller Johnson recommends is if the recommendation is going to be to take the funding, because that would involve a waiver of privilege, that board action be taken if the recommendation is to take the funding. If the recommendation is not to take the funding, no board action is required. We simply wouldn't check the box in the state system that would provide us these funds.
The chair.
Mr. Bailey?
So, I've said at these meetings multiple times, and it's mentioned how much we love our children and all these things. If a mass casualty event happens anywhere, would it behoove us or not behoove us to find out where the problem was so it doesn't happen again?
Mr. Bailey, there are multiple ways to find out what happened short of agreeing to the state to appoint a group of people that we have no control or say-so over to come in and do an investigation.
And
I can tell you this, Oxford Schools did an investigation into the incident. There's a 100-plus page report out there that was generated, and it's full of information. Now, whether that's as thorough and deep as it should be or could be, as an investigation by the Attorney General would have been, I can tell you that this is an issue where I sit here with conflicting emotions because I have a superintendent hat and a duty to this district, and I also have a parent hat. And I can tell you that I won't speak necessarily to my own thinking, but I can tell you there are plenty of parents who weren't satisfied with the independent investigation that was done in Oxford. Now, would they have, some of those same people, would they have trusted an investigation that was conducted by the Attorney General? I can tell you, knowing people in that community, there's people who wouldn't have liked the outcome of that report either. So, but to say that this is not a question in my mind about whether the districts that turn this money down don't want the truth if there's a mass casualty, or the people that accept it clearly want the truth if there's a mass casualty. This is a situation where everything's very nebulous because this is the first time anybody's tried anything like this before. And they are asking, there is a hook to those who are going to receive this money.
So I think too, I think that my biggest issue, I don't think anybody in this room would say that we wouldn't want to get to the truth, right? And I don't think there's probably anybody that sits at that board table in Oxford that didn't want to get to the truth. My concerns about it are, one, they haven't defined what a mass casualty is. And so, that's really vague, but that's typical. We know that's typical of Lansing, right? They tie our money up, money up, and then don't give us clear guidelines.
Well, actually, just on that point, they have defined it, but it's very broad.
Right.
And I can just read that point for the benefit of those who don't have the documents right in front of them. It says mass casualty event means any of the following that occur on school grounds or at a school-sponsored event. An incident resulting in significant injuries to not fewer than 3 individuals. Now, where they don't really broadly defined is what the term significant means. And you can imagine that probably 2 well-minded individuals might have 2 different definitions of significant injuries, especially if you're the parent of one of those who was injured. An incident resulting in fatalities, plural. An incident that exceeds the normal resources for emergency response available in the jurisdiction where the incident takes place. And I can tell you this, there are certain events where even if it's just the threat of something taking place, where given some of the shortfalls in Redford Township as far as police, that there are other communities that are going to respond to certain calls that go out. So that's right there would be an incident that exceeds the normal resources for emergency response available in the jurisdiction and open us up to an investigation. And then finally, an incident that results in sudden and timely surge of injured individuals necessitating emergency services. So again, there is a definition provided. It's actually a broad definition, but it has nebulous terms within that definition.
I think,
I'm sorry.
I think my other problem with it is the piercing of attorney-client privilege. I mean, I think that's one of the things that I think, while it makes our justice system, good or bad, right? However you want to see that. I mean, if you're guilty and your attorney knows you're guilty, but I mean, I think that it goes to the heart of the foundation of our justice system. And the fact that it could potentially affect not just the entity of Redford Union Schools, but the people who give their lifeblood to this district, including the 7 of us at this table. I'm super uncomfortable with it's just another, I try not to put my opinion, but I'm going to put it's just another, the state just wanting to meddle, where if we're going to do an independent investigation, I mean, it'd be different if Oxford hadn't done something, right? I could see why then they were upset. But to tie our funds up to this, and I know there was some conversation over the summer about that this school budget could have some categoricals that the districts weren't going to like attached to it, and I'm sure they were talking about this one. Mrs. Martin.
So like for instance, let's say if there was like a physical fight where multiple children were harmed or whatever, and police had to be involved outside of our district, outside of our SRO and things like that, then this would possibly fall under one of those type of situations. Am I understanding that right?
It very well could, depending on the circumstances. And again, that's the thing. It's a broad definition of mass casualty, but within that definition, there are terms that are open to interpretation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very dangerous. And, you know, definitely what the president said, it's a slippery slope when you take away that client privilege. It kind of opens the floodgates for outside of just the school district. It's like, oh, let's try it in other areas. And so, yeah.
That is another important point you make, and that's something that's been discussed as well.
Right, 'cause what's
Is
next?
this particular year, they've decided, for some reason, while I think we still need money for school safety and security, and we clearly still need money for mental health within the state of Michigan, that they decided to tie this condition to that. But there is also a broader concern that this year they're tying this categorical funding to that.
So what is that?
What is the next thing that they might just tie school funding to? So they might say, well, we'll give you a $400 per pupil increase, provided you do X, Y, and Z,
Yeah.
and tie bar the two together. So this does open the door to them at the legislative level in concert with the governor to tie conditions, specific conditions they want to see to your receipt of funding.
Good, Chair.
Mr. Bailey?
You had mentioned about piercing the client attorney privilege and letting them in during an investigation. But I also remember at Oxford reading articles where staff were told not to cooperate with the investigation. I am not, again, I'm not gonna do two faces on this, where we say we love our children and then something happens. Whether it's a spread of disease, an accident, natural disaster, whatever. Just find out what the problems were, how we can improve for next time. And where the holes were, where it happened.
Yeah.
So that's the other end of the spectrum, and I'll tell you right now, I don't support that idea.
Okay, but I will tell you my own 2 cents about where I believe this is coming from. Is, I want to be clear, they're asking us to waive, the request is that privilege would be waived.
So if I.
The trick is, they're not asking for governmental immunity to be
Correct.
waived. So I will say this, going back to the Oxford situation, there was one of the lawsuits, or one of the things that the courts decided was whether governmental immunity applied to the district employees at all levels who may have been involved at whatever level in what transpired there. The courts clearly came out and said that governmental immunity still applied because basically the primary cause of what transpired were not the acts of the administrators or counselors or other school staff that may have been involved and might have taken a misstep along what transpired, but the primary cause of what transpired and the mass casualties that took place was the school shooter himself and his actions. So because that was the primary cause, governmental immunity still applied. So I think what they are trying to do, because they know that the courts are going to uphold the concept of governmental immunity, which covers actions as long as they're not grossly negligent or higher, and provides all school employees protection. This was a way to kind of attack that, and what they're hoping to find is that through one of these investigations, especially when you waive the privilege and they get access to everything, that they're somehow ultimately gonna be able to charge some school employee at some level with a crime. And that's, to me, what's driving this situation. Because if they could charge them with a crime, there will be no governmental immunity that applies.
You mean like Uvalde?
I'm not gonna speculate, because I don't know all the facts on Uvalde. I know what I've heard, but yes, a situation like that, potentially. And there's also discussion I had earlier today about this topic with the local superintendent. And one of the things we asked that we think is kind of nebulous, because this it says that the investigation is going to consider people's response to this as well. There was a question whether that opening us up to this investigation could actually lead to some kind of liability, pointing to the Uvalde situation, at least as I've been told. The inactions of the police officer could have potentially been implicated by what transpired, or by a deep dive and investigation where they had access to all kinds of information. So potentially our waiver of privilege could potentially impact others that aren't even related to the school district.
Through the chair.
Mrs. Martin?
So as it relates to funding, what was the budget the state gave us for SEL now?
I said that my understanding right now is we're talking in the neighborhood of $100,000 for us.
No, like without this right here.
I don't have those numbers right in front of me from the past dollars we received from 31 AA, but I think at one point in time we were receiving over 200,000, 250,000, so $250,000 in this funding. Now, I will say that even though to me the mental health needs in our schools are as high as they ever were, they've decreased the amount of funding they've given us for school security and mental health in every budget since they first made this a categorical. So this has been an area that, despite schools telling them that we need more of these funds, at the legislative level, they've continued to reduce.
So with the budget that they just approved, maybe come back to me on that one to see how much was allocated, because I can't remember on how much they gave to us for that. Thank you.
Okay, clearly this is a complicated subject, and we'll have to, it's gonna require more conversation, hopefully, soon.
Yeah, if we were going to revisit this on the evening of the board workshop, because I believed we had enough information at that point to maybe consider something, which is questionable. But if we will include this as an item regardless on the workshop agenda. But if we were to convene a special meeting that evening, it would be after the workshop instead of before the workshop, so that everybody could have all that information.
Thank you. Moving on, student representative communication. Axel.
So after the strong conversation, I would like to start off Hope Squad. We just finished training for our Hope Squad QPR training, individuals on the secondary campus. So in the high school, we now have 62 students.
62?
62 students that are QPR trained.
Wow.
And 5 advisors.
Just at the high school.
Just at the high school. The junior high now has 35 members, also with 5 advisors. Another program that Hope Squad just started roughly 3 weeks ago, the peer-to-peer program. We have 14 members that go to classes with the students with autism, and they all work together as classmates and everything. It's pretty nice to see because most of the students are really enjoying it. They, from what I've seen, like my past grades and everything, I don't see too many students with autism being included in our class. They're always like in their own place and they don't have too much communication with everyone. So it's very good to have this program and I'm very happy for it. So Friday, October 24th was our senior night football game. And the marching band presented a very, very special halftime show. We all wanted to go with our new mantra, where you belong. And we wanted to show the audience that where most of our culture, ethnicities, and our community is. So students wore their flags on the back of their uniforms
Nice.
to represent their community and everything. Some of those communities were Mexico, Jamaica, Ireland, India, Colombia, Germany, El Salvador, Nigeria, Cameroon, Philippines, Poland, Cherokee Native tribe, the Blackfoot Native tribe, Ojibwe Native tribe, and the Apache Indian tribe.
Wow. What a wonderful melting pot we are. I love it. I love that. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. What amazing stuff that's happening, right? Like celebrating our cultures and our diversities. Peer to peer, as a grandma with an autistic grandson, I know that how important that is. And I think back to when my Mark was in elementary school, there was a super high functioning young man in his classroom, and Mark was his peer up until they separated them in 5th grade. And both mamas went, "Why did you separate our boys?" And he didn't do as well when they took Mark away from him as when he had Mark. And they're still friends to this day. And so I love that because helping them feel included is so important, right? Normalizing their differences is so important. It's a beautiful thing to see and hear about.
Just something, a note on that. On last Friday, I did join the meeting with the SEL staff, and Lynn Adolfo at the high school, who leads up our SEL efforts there, including the Hope Squad efforts, mentioned what Axel just shared with the Hope Squad students interacting with the ASD students. And Lynn herself commented how the feedback they're already receiving from the building is how those students who almost always will not verbalize anything, when they're there in that setting, working alongside our other students, that they can see communication taking place. So for that alone, it's like another plus. And I would just throw in a plug. When we talk about the mental health needs of our students and some of the things in the past we've used those funds for that we're talking about a few minutes ago, those are the type of programs that we utilize 31AA funds for, to help support programs like that, as well as the staff involved in those programs.
Awesome. Thank you. All right.
Through the chair.
Oh, Mrs. Martin.
Oh, so Axel, you definitely highlighted a good point as well as it relates to the inclusion piece of, how sometimes kids with autism, they may be more secluded based on their eligibility. And so even thinking about how we can promote more inclusion into the Gen Ed programs around, like maybe it might be a possible just a day, or out the month where they're included outside of their normal classroom activity. So thank you for lifting that up.
Thank you. Good job. Thank you, Axel. We appreciate the updates. All right, moving on to Superintendent's Communications. Mr. Witt.
I just would like to highlight the staff members of the month. For Keeler Administration Building, we have Miss Jackie Warren.
Yay! Whoop, whoop. I called that, by the way. I called that.
Beach Elementary School, Tracy Beck, second grade teacher.
Yay! Woo!
Hilbert Elementary School, Paula Sutherland, special education teacher.
Yay, Paula!
Redford Union Junior High, Katie Sims,
Woo!
assistant principal.
You can tell who loves Katie's.
I think that's the first time we've ever had like an assistant principal win that award.
Wow.
I don't think Mr. Taylor won it until he became a principal. At Redford Union High School, we have Randall Taylor, Dean of Students.
Whoop whoop! Yay!
At McGowan here, we have Mara Rosenthal, one of our teacher consultants in the DHH program.
Yay! Woo!
And then Keeler Day Treatment, Stacy Mendez, secretary.
Yay! All right. Okay. Moving on, communications received by the board secretary. I believe there are none. And if there were, she's kind of busy. Interim Chief Financial Officer's communications. Is there anything from?
There's nothing this evening. I would say though, I think we're on target to have at the December board meeting, we should be having, the audit should be included on the agenda.
All right, thank you.
Everything was filed with the state on time as needed.
Awesome. Executive Director of Human Resources and Labor Relations Communications, Mrs. Nachman.
Nothing this evening.
Thank you. I know, right? There's cheers back to there. Executive. There we go. Yeah. Usually it kind of, yeah. Executive Director of Curriculum and Technology Communications, Mrs. Crenshaw.
I have an action item on the agenda tonight. It's from the last board meeting that I attended, that I talked to you about the firewall. So I don't know if you want to wait and ask me questions then, but I did include the memo and for y'all to review again.
Thank
And
you.
that's all I have to share.
Executive Director of Student Services Communications, Mrs. Dillard.
Good evening. So, Ms. Martin, to your point, our junior high and high school ASD students are mainstreamed for 2 hours every day, and so that is part of our inclusionary work across our campus, our secondary, across the street. So just so you and the board have that information.
That's good.
Piggybacking on mental health, you know I sit on the Wayne County Suicide Coalition. There are 9 school districts that sit on that. I've done that for, I think, 3 years now. So this Saturday, we are hosting our Students versus Stigma. It's our student group, the branch of our adult coalition. This is going to be our 4th or 5th student meeting at different school districts. And so we're hosting 10 to 3. We're expecting about 50 kids coming out from our different districts in the coalition, and so they're working really, really hard. We're really encouraging them as the adult group to come and present at our board meetings because they are phenomenal. The work that they've done is phenomenal, their dedication, commitment to this cause, and so if we can reduce one student suicide, we've done a really good job.
We've done our job.
So that's this weekend in our media center, across the way.
That's awesome. Thank you. All right, moving on to future workshop topics. As you can see the list there, I'm not going to read it out loud because you all know how to read. I will, however, say, how are we on board self-assessment completion? I know who has completed. What I don't know is who hasn't. So this, I promised y'all I would nag you about this. If there is a problem and there's a reason you haven't completed, please let us know so that we can help you out. I know Mrs. Dean and I had a conversation. I know some people are having trouble with their district emails. If you so like, I will take your personal email and forward that to you so that we can get this done, because we all agreed to get this done. And I don't want to have to nag you again in December, but I will. But we did agree to 2 weeks, and so now I'll take my mama nag hat off. All right, we will move on to
Through the
the,
chair right there on that
Yeah.
issue. Do you know how many have completed?
I do not, but I can take a good guess. I know that I've completed, you've completed, Mr. Osowski has completed. I know I had a conversation with Mrs. Dean, so that would put us at 4 for sure. But I believe we need 6 before they'll even tell me.
Okay.
So I know we're not at 6 because I haven't gotten notification from MASB
So we got 6.
that we're at 6. So we'll give Mrs. Johnson some grace. She kind of is busy. And I don't know who else, but don't make me call you. I told you, I'll be like, look, I know who's done. I'm on the phone. My children will tell you I'm really good at bugging them about stuff. Okay, moving on. Consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda items as presented?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Osowski, seconded by Ms. Miller. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say yes. Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Action items. Oh, special consideration, non-consent agenda action items. Item number 1, firewall project. Can I get a motion that the Board of Education, at the recommendation of Kim Crenshaw, Executive Director of Curriculum and Technology, and Jason Witt, Superintendent, purchase a new FortiGate 700G firewall in the amount of $41,895, purchasing a license for the current firewall, which is a FortiGate 1800F, over the next 3 years, will cost the district $79,164 based on the current renewal pricing. By replacing the current firewall with an updated version, the district will save $37,269 over this 3-year period and receive enhanced firewall protection.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Osowski, seconded by Ms. Miller. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Mrs. Martin?
So, as we talk about our budget, does this fit in with our budget right now?
Yes.
And
that's in part because, I mean, yes, it's accounted for in our budget, but it's actually a cost savings as well.
Because we would have to pay the license regardless. So the license is already accounted for in the budget. It's just an additional amount that will be
And we'd have to pay
realized
that.
next year.
We'd have to pay that 3-year licensing up front, right? Yes,
I don't
no?
know, I
No?
don't remember, I
Okay.
don't remember what the contract said, but, yeah. So, yeah, so it would be the yearly cost was $26,388 per year. Per year, so $26,388 this year, $26,388 next year, and then the following year as well. Assuming the pricing stays the same and they don't increase it on us.
Right,
okay.
Yeah.
which they could do. Mr. Bailey?
So,
Ms. Freshman, so for the current firewall, we need to buy a license, right, if it continues?
Correct.
Do we need to buy a license for the new one?
That will be part of the package. It's all included in the 41,000.
It's a better
So
firewall.
this, so like you say, we're saving the money just by not doing the license. We've got the license on the new one, so
Yep, so it all, we'll save money.
coming better, right?
Yeah.
so let's say, for instance, if we do not get this update license, what would happen?
What is your question? If we don't update the license?
Yes.
Then we would lose our ability to contact the company for any support. We wouldn't get any updates on the actual firewall. So they tie all that stuff to your renewal of the license. That's why the license is there.
Or we lose the firewall, wouldn't we?
Well, firewall would still sit there. It just wouldn't be updated at all. We wouldn't be able to, if something went wrong with it, we wouldn't be able to call for support.
It would also be more susceptible to cyber attacks.
So
Yes.
part of that service is there updating the software.
Correct. Yep.
And cyber attacks have cost districts millions of dollars.
South Redford's one of them.
So I think it's important to note that not only is it the license, but it's a new piece of hardware, which, you know, in the world of technology, you know, that has to happen too at some point in the life of our technology, right? We all know that our phones change, and this firewall is, you know, it's what protects us from all kinds of bad stuff.
Yes, and because
kinds of
technology changes and improves over time, this is obviously an updated version. And as we talked about last time, we were able to cover some of the cost of the last firewall, which was quite a bit more expensive with E-rate money, but because it has to be in place for 5 years, we couldn't apply for the E-rate for this particular device. But it's still less to purchase the new device than it was for what it cost us for the last device.
Yeah.
It's less money. I don't know if I said that right.
All right. Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, this requires a roll call vote. Mr. Bailey?
Yes.
Mrs. Dean?
Yes.
Mrs. Martin?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Osowski? Chair votes yes, motion carries. Thank you. Thank you for all you do. Item B, there were no items removed from the consent agenda. We'll move on to call the audience, public participation regarding non-agenda items.
And one of those folders out there since last time I looked?
I don't think so.
All right,
Okay.
then we're good. Because it was empty before, but if any of you went out there, I'll run out and look at it
I'll
again.
check the floor.
Okay.
I kind of watch what happens too, so. All right, moving on, superintendent's remarks.
I do actually, Ms. Crenshaw, I sent you an email earlier that had a clip. So in lieu of remarks, I would like to highlight one of the great things. Jackie was unable to be here today. She had an issue in her family, and she actually lost her sister on Friday. So that's why there's no board book update or anything else. We will still be, her plan is to still put together a board brag book for this past month that will ultimately be posted online along with the calendar. But in lieu of that, one of the things that I know was going to be highlighted is the great, fantastic, wonderful, world-renowned scarecrow making contest
Yes!
at the day treatment program. So provided we can get the link to work, the Lambert heard about this, our communications partner. They heard about this in some past discussions. They not only meet with me on a regular basis, but they set up times to meet with each of our building leaders. So they're aware of activities that they think the media might be interested in. And they did a news story.
Math and scarecrow making is all in a day's work for students in Redford. The halls of the Keeler Center are decked out with a little Halloween flair. Students in each class worked together to create their own scarecrows, and they've learned a few lessons along the way.
Get you more, I love it. The little kids. I'm loving.
The two classes with best scarecrows will win a pizza party or ice cream.
All right, sounds good.
Yay! So has there been a winner declared? Because I'm loving the Hutch jersey. I'm loving the Hutch jersey.
And those scarecrows were all very good. It was a very hard decision, let me just say that much.
So kudos to the day treatment program and the students and staff involved with that
Yay.
annual event.
Awesome. Oh. All right, moving on to Board of Education Communication and Discussion. As per my habit, I will start down at this end of the table. Mr. Osowski? Mrs. Miller? Ms. Miller? Okay, I will say I had the privilege of attending both of our trunk or treats. It was so much fun. I had some people with me because we did something for the moms too, and they were very, very impressed with our kids and just our families. And all of us were old enough to understand Melissa's costume. But, you know, she was Mrs. Roper. It was great. It was absolutely great. But I love the creativity of our kids and our staff. Who doesn't know who, or do we have some people who might?
Mr. Taylor is the baby.
Oh.
But even I know who's.
That's so funny. Yeah, a lot of people don't know who that is, but you know. She was great. So it was just a wonderful, I love it. Those kids are so creative and it's so much fun and our staff is so creative and tireless. I'm gonna tell you what, it's a lot of work. I was shocked at how much, just the turnout and just beautiful, beautiful time. The Hilbert one was a little bit colder. We were cold when we got done, but you know, that's not.
That's what a week will do.
Yeah, that's what it'll do, right? So that's all I have. Mrs. Dean,
I don't have anything.
Mrs. Martin.
Yes, we were able to, a few of us was able to go to the annual MASB conference, and I had an opportunity to sit on the capital bond project for like the construction part of things. And when I tell you, I learned so much information. I can't wait. I want to know if, you know, maybe possibly have a chance to present at one of our board workshops. It's just, man,
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
learned a lot. And I think that from just my little bit, because I'm not going to be able to recapture the whole thing, but possibly bring them here and to see and present, especially since we're on another project now. And so like knowing this
in the middle of it.
information up front this time around for, you know, this current board will be really good. So
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing.
Mr. Bailey.
So, as Ms. Martin said, it was a very good conference. It had a lot of information I think that our school district could benefit from. I think what I'd like to do is try to make that available. I've talked to some of them and asked if they'd be interested in being interviewed. They essentially told their problem when they spoke at the beginning of their presentations. One individual was making 180 presentations out of 181 days last year. There was another one, 300 presentations over X amount of time. Point being is, unless you're in that room, once they stop, once that meeting ends, it's gone, all that information. So what I'm going to try to do is see if we can videotape or at least have them present the information. So if you can't attend a meeting, it's still available. Now, my question is to the board, in order to streamline time, instead of having these presenters come out to each board, if we were to have a meeting of the whole in which different school districts come out and have their, instead of having another meeting for the month, is their meeting includes part of the presentation. And at the same time, we can videotape that presentation. And what we could do is have side rooms in which if you need to conduct board business beyond the speaker, then that could be available. So in other words, we can invite Wayne County to participate, to come to an auditorium. And the presentation can be done once, and you maximize the return on any investment, whether it's investment of time, money, whatever. Would there be an interest?
are you talking about the CBA classes, or are you talking about the workshop that goes on, like, during the day hours that's outside of the CBA? Like how you may have had somebody present, for instance, from Pontiac School District, they may have did a presentation at the conference. Are you talking about those, or are you talking about the CBA classes?
I'm talking about people that have knowledge that can move education forward.
Always helpful.
Whether it's AI, whether it's curriculum, whether it's requirements for graduation. I mean, this stuff's golden.
That's not really answering my question, so
Yeah,
it's
that was
hard for
pretty
me
generic
to give
answer.
input.
So, maybe I can help. It isn't uncommon for school districts and school boards to invite other schools in for CBA classes. That is actually,
So it's a CBA.
that can happen, for
Okay.
sure. Because if you look sometimes,
No, I didn't know what.
you know, the ISD holds them, right? We're required as an ISD to hold a certain number. But it's, I mean, if we could say, hey, let's offer CBA blah, 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 right? And let's reach out to our area school districts and invite them to come. MASB encourages that. It's not unheard of. So that's definitely something. I don't know about major presenters, because I think I don't know, those are volunteers, right? I don't think that, remember last year we went to the the policy, or the onboarding one.
With Fenton, I think
Yeah,
it was,
I don't
yeah.
think they get anything for doing that. I think they
Yeah.
volunteer to do that. And so while I love the idea of it, and I'm not shooting it down by any means, I think we need to be cognizant of the fact that those kinds of presentations, some are paid for by MASB, there's a cost involved, and some of them are probably done by hardworking individuals such as the people in this room on a volunteer basis. And it's not that they're not willing to share their information, but I think we would need to really be respectful of their time. It's definitely worth having conversations about going forward.
Yeah, that helps. That clears my mind.
That
That
helps.
definitely helps a lot, because I didn't know if it was just like the Fenton one. That was like a workshop during the daytime versus a CBA course.
Right, and they were gonna,
yeah.
MASB, they send out a request for presenters, right? And so that's where, if you have, a district like Fenton had that knowledge and they submitted a proposal to MASB and then MASB approved them. They might have gotten something for it, but they're gonna be at leadership anyway. I don't know. I feel like,
That's a good idea. Let's do it.
Yeah.
I'm on board with trying to invite people, but if we can't get them, so let's say for instance we invite people and we know how it is, that work that goes into that behind the scenes. So if we're not able to get people to collaborate, still think about, let's not take it off the table that we still continue to bring CBA classes here.
Agreed.
Yeah.
agreed. All right, anything further, Mr. Bailey?
Yes,
Okay,
sorry about that.
want to make sure.
So, I attended a fundraiser out at Northville High School. They had a haunted house. They had, I'm not sure whether it was Friday, they included Friday, I know they included Saturday and Sunday. They said they had about 300 people at about $10 a pop. So they made $3,000 it was a drama club, using the auditorium. And for return on investment,
I can't do it.
maybe 10 kids were
that's
involved.
But it was free.
It was pretty good. Also, for Beach Elementary School, is the Beach Parent-Teacher Organization still existing? And what about for the Hilbert?
No, there's not one in action yet. There's not been one since prior to my time. There's been at least some parent.
There was one a couple of years ago.
There was a parent club when I first started 5 years ago, but that was a one person, and that hasn't been in existence since the beginning of that first year. 5 years ago.
So as part of something else, and then part of that challenge Ms. Pridemore laid down a couple meetings ago in terms of our community, As part of something else, I was looking at the tax exemptions for the IRS. And several of our organizations have either had their IRS exemption revoked or they're close to having it revoked. Now, it used to cost money. I'm not sure. It used to be like $600 to get a tax exemption. So before these go down the toilet, there's an opportunity that we could possibly resurrect it, or bring that paperwork up to date and use this as tools within our community to further our operations. The band boosters is one of them. They lost their tax exemption in 2012. I talked with, I guess, the president or former president and informed them about the situation. Also, in terms of, I had spoken to some of you about the Apple Foundation, Henry Ford Community College, and I sent out some emails to the administration about it. They've got current classes, it's for 18 and above. If you take their classes and complete that course, plus free classes, a couple free classes otherwise, they will give you an Apple computer and they'll give you an Apple iPhone. So it's a pretty good deal. And to use the equipment, they'll lend you the iPhone and their computer. Also, one other thing is, usually about this time of year, we wait pretty close to Christmas. What I like to do is ask the question. I wanted to give some examples because it always seems to depends on what's on the Christmas card. But it's a neutral Christmas card wishing people a happy Christmas. Would the board be interested in participating in that? We'll either signed by all or signed by Mr. Witt, signed by an individual as part of the board. Whatever way you'd like to do it if you're interested.
Okay. Thank you. There is one other thing, and I'm gonna just step out here. We were kind of having an offside conversation before the start of the meeting, and I don't know. You tell me if we're out of line. We can't. We all know that. While SNAP funds are probably going to be partially funded, they're saying it could take weeks and before that money is loaded. And while we can't use district funds to help a family or two, I think I could speak, the heart of this board would be to help a couple of families individually. And so I would ask our administrators to think of a name or two, a couple of names from each building, of families that could use help with like a Thanksgiving dinner. And I'm just saying, if we do this, it would come out of our individual pockets, our heart for our kids, our heart for our district. I may be speaking out of turn for the rest of my board, but I don't think I am, because I think I know their hearts. So I'd be curious, I think we'd be curious to know if there are some families that we as community members can help in our buildings. All right. Moving on, future meeting dates. Tuesday, November 18th, board workshop, 5:30, right here in the district meeting room. Monday, December 1st, wow. Regular meeting, I'm like, man, how is that already like?
Start your Christmas
Oh
shopping
my
right
gosh.
now.
5:30, again here in the district meeting room. I actually started already and I never do that. And then Tuesday, December 16th, again, right here that's our board workshop in the district meeting room. Can I get a motion to adjourn? Moved by Mr. Osowski, seconded by Ms. Miller. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say yes.
Yes. And they ready?
Opposed, motion carries. The time is 6:47.
18th. The first and the 16th. First and the 16th.